In the upper dark, the bell rope hangs without movement. The hour has not yet reached the bell. It waits in the rope, in the timber above, in the worn floor below, and in the cold air moving carefully through the stone opening. Nothing has been rung. Nothing has broken the night. The chamber holds its work in restraint, as if even the dust knows that sound belongs to a later moment. A small lantern rests on a lower step. Its flame is covered enough to keep the stairs safe, but not bright enough to wake the tower. The light touches the rope, the gloves, a peg in the wall, and then thins into the beams. The rope descends from darkness. It is thick hemp, twisted by many hands and polished only where the grip has repeated for years. At this hour, it is not an instrument of announcement. It is a hell duty. The stair below has been climbed in silence. Each tread dips near the middle, and the wall beside it has been brushed smooth where shoulders turn through the narrow passage. The climb is part of the work, but the work is not hurry. It is timing. At the top, the chamber is small enough for every object to matter. The rope takes the center without asking for attention. The gloves lie near it. The lantern keeps a low ring of warmth. A spare cord hangs from a peg, and cold stone waits at the opening. The bell itself is mostly above the light. Its weight is present without needing to be seen clearly. A dark curve, a beam, a hanging line, and the stillness beneath them are enough. The room remembers sound by holding silence. A pair of gloves rests with the palms turned inward. They have not been dropped carelessly. One finger bends slightly, and dust has gathered along the seam where the leather no longer lies flat. They belong to a hand that must be ready but not restless. The gloves are not fine. Their edges are darkened by use, and one thumb has thinned where it meets the rope. In cold weather, that worn leather is not decoration. It protects the skin from hemp, splinters, and the raw edge of waiting. The floor under the rope has a shallow hollow. It is not made by walking across the room, but by standing in one place, shifting weight, listening for the proper hour. Dust has settled into the low part, and the rope shadow falls near it like a second mark. The tower opening admits a narrow stream of air. It carries the cold before dawn, not sharply, but steadily. The stone around it is gray even in low light. Far below, the rest of the building remains quiet, held away by height and timber. No drama is needed for this kind of responsibility. The rope does not move because the right moment has not arrived. The chamber is shaped by that refusal. It keeps sound in reserve, and the waiting becomes part of the duty. The lantern on the step does not search the walls. It keeps its light close to useful things. The rope must be found without fumbling. The gloves must be near. The stair must be safe enough for tired feet. Anything beyond that can remain dark. A peg in the wall holds a spare loop of cord. The loop has a plain knot, tight enough to stay, loose enough to be taken down if needed. It adds no grandeur to the chamber. It simply prevents a small problem from becoming larger in the dark. The timber above is rough, with older cuts half hidden by shadow. Dust lies along its upper edge. The bell's weight has passed through that wood for years, and yet tonight the beam is quiet, doing its part by not asking to be noticed. The rope fibers are easiest to see where the lantern grazes them from one side. Some strands lift slightly from the twist. Others have flattened where palms have closed around them. The wear is practical and exact, a record made by repeated pressure rather than by writing. A hand would know the rope without looking. It would know where the grip is sure, where the fibers catch, where the pull begins. But knowing is not the same as acting. In this chamber, readiness is kept still. The cold from the opening reaches the gloves first, then the floor, then the lower part of the rope. it does not fill the chamber. The covered lantern keeps a little warmth near the stair, just enough to make the space workable before morning. There may be sleepers far below, behind doors and low walls, under blankets that hold their last warmth. The still rope protects that sleep for a while longer. Sound will come later. For now, the tower remains careful. The upper room has no need to seem larger than it is. Stone, rope, leather, timber, dust, and a small flame are enough. Each thing has a place because each thing may be needed, and nothing extra is required. By the middle of the night, waiting can feel heavier than movement. A task already begun has an easy shape. A task not yet begun must be held in the mind. The bell rope shows that kind of labor. It hangs straight, full of possible motion, but accepts the hour. The floorboards near the stair are darker, where feet have paused before entering fully. A person coming up from below would stop there, let the eyes adjust, then step into the chamber without disturbing the rope. Even the approach has a habit of restraint. The wall near the opening is damp in one corner. The cold gathers there first, then spreads thinly along the stone. It gives the room an edge without making it harsh. The lantern answers with a low amber circle that does not reach too far. The gloves, the rope, and the lantern form a small order. Not an order of ceremony, but of use. The gloves are placed where the hand will find them. The rope hangs where the body expects it. The lantern stands where a foot will not strike it. This is how the chamber remains calm. It removes decisions before they become trouble. It keeps the work close, the stair visible, the cold at the edge, and the sound unspent. The spare cord near the wall has gathered dust on its lower curve. It has not been handled tonight. Its patience is different from the rope's patience. The main rope waits for time. The spare cord waits for need. Above, the bell is a dark weight held by timber. The metal does not shine. It has no reason to shine at this hour. The chamber does not ask the bell to be beautiful. It only asks it to be ready. The rope passes down from that weight into reach. Its line is vertical, plain, and steady. In a room with so little furniture, that line becomes a measure of the whole place. It joins the hidden bell to the worn floor, and the floor to the careful hour. No one has to stand in the middle of the room for the trace to remain. The gloves show the hand. The hollow in the floor shows the stance. The lantern shows the path. The still rope shows the part of the work that has not yet happened. As the night thins, the stone opening changes before the rest of the chamber. The black outside becomes less complete. A faint grayness touches the lip of the wall. The rope is still dark, but its fibers begin to separate from one another in the weak light. The first hint of morning does not hurry the task. It only makes the waiting more exact. The bell must not be early, and it must not be late. In that narrow space between too soon and too late, the chamber keeps its quiet discipline. The lantern flame lowers a little. It has burned through its small portion of oil, giving enough light and no more. The step beneath it is warm at one edge. The rest of the stair drops away into deeper shadow. The gloves remain where they were placed. One palm faces the rope, as if the hand has only stepped away for a breath. The leather will be cold when lifted. The rope will be colder. Both will answer when the hour asks. The chamber is not empty, though no body needs to be shown. It is full of held action, the climb already made, the grip not yet taken, the sound not yet released, the return down the stairs still waiting below. That held action is quieter than movement. It gives the upper room its gravity. The rope does not sway. The lantern does not flare. The cold does not rush. Everything remains close to the task and careful with the sleeping dark beneath it. A small draft shifts dust near the floor hollow. It is almost nothing. The rope does not answer it. The gloves do not move. The lantern flame tightens, then steadies again under its cover. The tower keeps many kinds of silence. There's the silence before sound, the silence after footsteps fade, the silence inside cold stone, and the softer silence around tools left ready. They do not compete. They settle into one another. The wall beside the rope has taken marks from small accidental touches. A scrape where a buckle may have passed. A darker patch where a shoulder turned. A pale nick in the wood near the peg. None of these marks asks to be explained. Together they make the chamber feel used rather than arranged. Even the air has layers here. Near the stair it carries oil and old wood. Near the opening it carries stone and the thin cold before dawn. Near the rope it carries hemp dust, leather, and the dry smell of timber. The body would know these changes before the mind gave them names. The bell rope also measures restraint by the absence of rhythm. No pull, no swing, no answering metal above. The tower waits without rehearsal. Each second passes into the next, and the room keeps the same low order. If the hand reaches for the gloves later, it will find them without search. If the foot turns toward the stair, the lantern will show the first step. If the rope is needed, the worn place in the fiber will meet the palm. This is the comfort of preparation, not softness, but fewer uncertainties. The chamber does not separate work from rest as sharply as a larger room might. Its work is quiet enough to sit beside sleep. A person can wait here without filling the space with tension, because the tools have already been placed, and the hour has not yet asked for movement. Dust gathers differently around each thing. It lies lightly on the spare cord, breaks around the gloves, settles into the floor hollow, and clings to the rope fibers where the twist opens. These small differences keep the room from feeling empty. They show where the night has touched, and where hands have touched more often. The upper dark has a gentler scale than the bell itself. The bell may be heavy, but the chamber is made of smaller decisions, where the lantern sits, how the gloves are turned, how far the spare cord hangs from the wall, how much cold is allowed through the opening before dawn. The work also has a mercy in it. The rope remains still so others do not have to wake yet. Its silence is not neglect. It is a kind of care measured by timing, held in the hands before the hands have even arrived. The floor near the stair gives a quiet warning to move slowly. Boards answer too loudly if stepped on without care. Stone returns sound in a way that can travel down through the tower. So the chamber teaches softness, not with words, but with every surface that might carry noise. By now the room has settled into a pattern of useful nearness. Rope near gloves, lantern near step, spare cord near peg, cold near opening, stair near darkness. Nothing is hidden, and nothing is pushed forward. The arrangement is enough for a tired mind to trust. A small plain wedge of wood rests near the wall, dark at one end from old handling. It may be used to steady a door, hold a loose board, or keep a draft from finding the stair too easily. Its exact task tonight is not important. What matters is that it has been left where a hand can use it without searching. The chamber also holds the memory of careful exits. A person leaving after the bell would lift the lantern, turn toward the stair, and let the rope fall still behind them. The room is prepared for that later movement, but it does not hurry toward it. A narrow shelf near the lantern holds no book and no written order. It only catches a little dust and the edge of the lamp glow. The absence of writing suits the place. The hour is not kept by words here, but by habit, listening, and the knowledge of when a hand should close around the rope. The beam above gives a faint dry scent when the air shifts. Old timber, hemp, and stone mix with the covered flame. None of it is strong. The chamber does not wake the senses sharply. It lets each material remain low, familiar, and close to sleep. Somewhere below, a door may settle in its frame. The sound comes up thin by the stair, too small to disturb the rope. The upper room receives it and lets it fade. Waiting continues, not as tension, but as a careful refusal to spend sound early. The rope's lower end is tied in a simple finish. It is not decorative. It keeps the fibers from loosening and gives the hand a known boundary. In the lantern light, that plain ending feels as important as the bell above, because it is where the duty will first meet the body. Near the end of the night, the chamber begins to lower its own attention. The stair is known. The rope is known. The gloves are known. The opening holds its gray edge. Nothing more needs to be discovered. The final dark gathers around the bell rope gently. The lantern is still present, but small. The gloves wait beside the rope. The floor hollow keeps its shallow mark. The cold stays at the opening, and the sound remains held above. For this last quiet stretch, the bell rope has done enough by staying still. It has kept the morning uncalled, protected the sleepers below, and left the upper chamber with one careful duty resting in the dark.